As you guys can see, I have no monsters in my hand. What a terrible start. My opponent is starting off with Junk Synchron, Speed, Full Speed Warrior. So as you can tell, this nigga is about to have the full-on Stardust combo. We get our first Synchro. Junk Speeder. Synchro Rumble. I don't know why it started not in my deck. But yeah, anyways. We got Red Supernova Dragon on the field. 6K, bro. 6K. There's not a single monster in my entire deck that could deal with that. 7K. The nigga got stronger. A Cell Synchro Stardust Dragon. So now we have high-powered Stardust, high-powered Red Dragon. But wait, they're still evolving. Mind you, there's no monsters in my hand. Not one single monster. You get rid of a Cell for another 12, and it is Crimson Dragon. Supernova is fluctuating between 6K and 7K. We got Baron the Fleur. Baron says fuck everything. Literally stop. Now, hold up. Before the turn is over, I want you guys to see a clear representation on what's going on. We're gonna let it build up. So guess what? Crimson Dragon returns to bring out Stardust, Seafarer. This hold up, you in that turn. So now this Seafarer Dragon, Divine Dragon, right? Look at this shit. It's holding summoning orbs. It's casting circles flying above his fist. Another thing, Stardust Dragon has fists and biceps. Like, this nigga is gangster. Anyways, this is the Divine Dragon. For those who are not that good with their literary practices, Divine is in reference to God or godly. So this is Stardust Dragon as a god. To further reference that, the Egyptian god cards, Obelisk, Slifer, and Ra, hosting red, blue, and yellow. And you can see hints of red, blue, and yellow in the background of this. Like purplish because it's laid over the blue. But you can see the red. And then you can also see like the red trails or whatever. The red trails are bleeding red from yellow. So you can see the yellow, which is circling the green, right? And then there's blue in the background. Also, Obelisk the Tormentor is a monster with 4,000 attack points, 4,000 defense, and as you can see, this monster has 4,000 attack points and 4,000 defense points. All right, so this is what this card says, right? The first time each card you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, it is not destroyed. That is a passive protection on every single card this person owns on the field. Actually, pardon that. Yeah, on the field, because it says control. Okay, now, furthermore, once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can negate that effect. And if you do, destroy one card on the field. So off the rip, this card is a sit-alone blanket protection that can also negate an effect on top of its passive destruction protection, and it can also destroy a card. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target one level 8 or lower Stardust monster from your graveyard, and special summon. So if this card is destroyed, you can special summon another Stardust from the graveyard. Again, hinting at that godlike power, the divine, the resurrection. All right, let's scoot over to the next card on the list. Baron, right? Once per turn, you can target one card on the field and destroy it. Every single time it's my opponent's turn, they can just randomly kill any card they choose just because, right? At no cost. Once while this card is placed up on the field, if a card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. So now we have two negates on top of the fact that we also have two cards that can once per turn destroy anything they choose on the field. Okay, and I have no monsters. So had I drawn a monster, whatever monster that is, that effect would naturally be negated. There's nothing I can do to stop that negating. Let's be very clear on that. All right, now the next thing we got is this. Super Red Supernova Dragon, right? Gains 500 attack points for each tuner in the grave. It's stacked up at 7k. It is now at 7.5k. Cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Fuck a blanket. Protection. We just can't kill this card, period. There's no card we have that can destroy this monster. Now, once per turn, when your opponent's monster effect is activated, or when an opponent's monster declares an attack, quick effect, you can activate this effect. Banish this card. If you do, also banish all cards your opponent controls. So if I attack them or activate a monster effect, every single card I control will be banished. Once per turn during your end phase, after this card was banished by its own effect, special summon it. So you can get rid of himself just to come back into the game. Now, for the last card we have to oppose us, the Crimson Dragon. Of course, when this card summoned, you get to add one spell or trap card that relates to Crimson Dragon from your deck. We're probably gonna get Rumble, right? Synchro Rumble, which is already in the grave. This card right here. It's a really powerful card. 9 times out of 10 niggas is gonna go for that. When you go here, you go to related cards. This is what you're gonna get. Not too many people are gonna go for Cosmic Blazar Dragon because you can't search it. You can only search for these 4 cards. Synchro World, I need to put this in my deck. I keep saying that every time I see this and I just don't put it in my deck. These cards, Synchro, Overtop, and Rumble, can also go into the deck. As you can see, it's a collection of the Synchro monsters. These monsters are given their powers to Stardust Dragon, as you say is the protagonist for 5Ds. So everyone's powerful, but towards the end of it, they give him like the Super Saiyan God effect, where everyone has to offer their powers to evolve him, and then he's this super crazy thing or whatever. Alright, furthermore, let's continue. Now, what fucked this person up was the fact, in my opinion, was bringing Baron to the party. Baron does not belong at this party, right? We all know this. Baron does not belong here. Let's just continue the duel. Now, we did draw a monster, but we drew a vanilla monster. We drew Elemental Hero, Burst in the Tricks, 1200 attack points, 800 defense points, 3-star monster, no effect whatsoever. Should be a Pyro, but it's a warrior monster. And if you're wondering why I have those stats memorized, the very first deck I rebuilt after losing my entire deck to this guy named Randy, who was the leader of the Rare Hunters. I dueled this nigga to try to get Exodia. He had all 5 pieces of Exodia, secret rare. And he said the only way I could duel him for it is if I put my entire deck up. In which case I had every single card Yugi has ever played in Duel Monsters, secret rare. My entire deck was secret rare. I just missed an Exodia. And so I just needed to have, which I really didn't need because Exodia was already taken out of Yugi's deck. So he very early on proved that he's a duelist without Exodia. But I just wanted to have it for the collection, nostalgia, and shit like that. I lost my entire deck to Randy. I quit Duel Monsters. I did not want to duel. I barely wanted to watch the show. Like I gave up on the entire thing, man. And then one day, randomly, I was on a train, and I was homeless at the time. I was 14, walking around a train homeless, and I seen an elemental hero, Avion. I saw this guy right here. It was face down, right? It was just a Yu-Gi-Oh card face down. I walked past, I'm like, what the fuck is a Yu-Gi-Oh card on the seat, you know? What the fuck is this shit doing here? I walk past it, I sit down, I'm chilling, and right before I get off the train, like I reach my stop, right before I get off the train, I picked the card up and it was Avion. And I kept the card. And I just read this card, right? A winged elemental hero who wheels through the sky and manipulates the wind. And that triggered me because at the time we had a show called Shaolin Showdown, where they were emphasizing elemental prowess. And I'm reading Elemental Hero, and I'm like, yo, what's up with this nigga? He controls the wind. This is a new concept. In Yu-Gi-Oh, the attributes did not matter, right? We got Blue Eyes, who's a light dragon, controlled by Kaiba, who in the beginning of the series is essentially evil, right? Yugi represents goodness, but his main monster is a dark monster. So it's like the attributes mattered none whatsoever. Like it had no relevance. Even with that, right? We got Dark Magician, we got Summon Skull. These are both dark monsters. But other iconic monsters are his mystical elf, which is that light monster. So it's like, you know, he had Winged Dragon, Guardian of the Fortress. I think that was a wind monster. Like all type of shit. Kaiba had light, dark, you know, a wind monsters. So it didn't make a difference. It wasn't until GX came in that the elements were actually relevant. And so it just really, really affected me on a grand scale. And so yeah, this entire deck is like really nostalgic for me. Obviously there's cards like this, Favorite Contact, that didn't exist when I first started dueling. But it plays into the evolution of the cards I was using, right? That's Shining Flare Wingman on the side, which is Flare Wingman, my mate. Oh, actually, I changed my mate. Look at that. My mate is now Neos. My mate is now this guy on the left. But Shining Flare Wingman is, I can't show you my deck. Oh, sorry about that. I can show you here. All right, so let's just do this real quick. This is actually essentially this card. This is the evolved version of Shining Flare Wingman. Yeah, so let's just go back up. I know I'm stalling this thing out, but I really want you guys to see. So this is Flare, this is Wingman, right? You can see him with Skyscraper in the background and that moon in the background. That's so iconic because he faces Crowler. And Crowler's about to beat his ass, and then he summons that to change everything, right? And he uses this card in my hand, Skyscraper. You can see the moon in the background as well. And that Empire State Building, like dead in the center, is what he jumps off of. If you guys are also into Magic the Gathering, my deck in Magic is also primarily built on New York City, with Spider-Man being the emphasis. Let's look at more of this. So this is another Flame Wingman, the emphasis on the moon. I could have really decked this deck out with Flame Wingman. He's easily my favorite of the E-Heroes fusions, because it's like the first fusion you can get, and it's fire and wind, and those are my primary elements. I'm a fire sign, and growing up, air was like my biggest weakness because I was afraid of heights. But once I learned to embrace air, it's been my number one thing outside of fire. And my wife is air. You know, it's just like a really big tribute to who I am as a person. So I just absolutely love that card. You're gonna see that card get played. But let's just continue. First things first, we want Burstinatrix, and we want to attack. Look at that. Look at that. So we summon Burstinatrix. We are aware of the fact that he can counter everything. So why the fuck use an effect, right? No effects. Let's trigger his effects, right? So we Skyscraper that ass so that we can get stronger when we attack a monster that's stronger than us. Let's continue. Now he chooses Supernova so he can make another boss monster. We don't want that to happen. We're gonna let him replace his Crimson Dragon, put it back in the deck, and that Supernova is getting taken. We're gonna super poly that shit actually. That's the only super we want to see. Super polymerization. We fuse his monsters. I was gonna fuse mine, I realized I could just fuse both of his to get this guy. The guy I just told you. Right? The Flame Wingman. It's so beautiful to be able to do this. It's so beautiful. The fact that I don't need one of my monsters to be able to play, this is so beautiful, I'm not gonna lie. But then yeah, we continue on. Smack him now. We could have used his effect to gain extra attack points. You see? When an attack is declared involving this card and a monster whose with attack is 2200 or higher, right? 2200 or more attack points. You can make this monster gain 1000 attack points. Then you can special summon one level 4 lower E-hero or a monster from your hand in defense. Now, why did I not do that? If I would have used my effect, it would have triggered Baron, who could have negated my effect and destroyed my monster. So instead, I just let Skyscraper do his work. But as you can see, he has a built-in Skyscraper. If your monster is stronger than him, he gains 1000 attack points. That's what Skyscraper does. This card is just broken. So we use a Fusion Summon to deepen that damage, and we fuse back into another Flame Wingman. Right? Smack him again for the other 12. You drill a Lockbird up, draw a Lockbird. Alright, boom, smack him again. But the whole point is that entire field is white. White, clean. You understand? White all the way clean. That nigga had an invincible board, bruh. Wake up, your heroes. Wake up, wake up, wake up.